I think that there is an opposite approach to politics nowadays through the internet. The internet has really changed our identities and normal lives based on back in the early days before the internet. Politics was a local thing, based upon tribes in a sense, forming towns and cities and counties and eventually forming states. And it was this bottom to top approach of forming the order of everyone in the town has their own specific views based on their region. Uh, Towns had specific things about it. The Pacific Northwest towns were more based on fishing and logging. There were regional differences across the nation, which there still are. But when you see the urban models that have been applied now, you have the presence of corporate franchises that have self-replicated across the nation. So this uniqueness of region and area is still somewhat there environmentally, and things still exist that make places unique, but there is a general watering down urbanization and industrialization, how pertinent these corporations can be. Imperialist model that America has, this form of manifest destiny where it started as the 13 colonies, and they were able to take middle of North America basically over the next 200 years with Western technology. It was really not a good equation, and it really depends on the worldview of these past civilizations prior to this white Anglo Saxon industrialization were symbiotic and had their own spiritual views. A lot of their critiques that come from the areas of 4chan and the right are saying that these people had nothing going for them in these regional areas, and that the presence of technology is able to eventually lift all of the world into this consumerism and capitalism, which you can really see being replicated because it's such a model that is psychologically fulfilling and not truly satisfactory. But you can see that this American model of the world is something that's attempted to be applied worldwide, something that originally started in the nation. And it's this idea that America has become this epoch of thought and economic dominance, military dominance, and how the model of the world that has been created needs to be extended to the rest of the world. Worldview that views this white Anglo Saxon domination with Western technology as almost being the means of having manifest destiny over the world. Because basically the West was able to create the tools of war and strategies of domination that were able to displace natives. When you have that access to dominance, that you should use that because you can lift yourself technologically and with resources into new forms of civilization and production, which is a really controversial worldview. You have this very Hollywood-esque view when you go on social media. People are attempting to amass the greatest amounts of followers or likes, and they're willing to give up parts of their individuality to fit within this greater system. There's simple and robust critique of extractive capitalism and its consequences on not only the physical environment, but mental health and being caught in this cycle of consumerism and filling the pockets of the wealthy with these corporations that have monopolized everything, points of economic transaction within our daily lives. And that goes back to my point of this regional self-similarity being replicated with the Trader Joe's, the Walmart, the Home Depot. All of these same businesses are found pretty much nationwide in the same places and keeps on funneling this money into this higher echelon of elite. The typical landlord, the guy with the McMansion, he has a few vacation homes all over the world, and he has 10 rental properties, making kids overpay and basically strangling, trying to get every last penny out of them. The interests of the cola seem to be running directly perpendicular to what is actually wanting to be accomplished. Instead of trying to find cheaper, more sustainable living methods, the normal homes that are built now create a lot of waste. Like, I think it's 25 to 40% of all waste in landfills is from building materials. Instead of finding these more simpler, sustainable living methods, we're arguing that we need to further fill the pockets of the landlords, increase the amount of surplus of capital that kids have in order for them to participate in a socially normative economy without having to go into debt or sacrifice too much of their time to other monetary support options. Infantile response to things. People don't fully comprehend the apparatus that they're working within, and when there's a little hoo-ha protest, it's being seen as the revolution. Things are getting done, big things are happening, kids are blocking off campus, and school is canceled. But fundamentally, I think that whole argument really ran against directly the interests of this socialist costume that kids wear. The new theology that people have in our post-Christian age. There's two sides here in this political field around the riots, and the left, in a sense, is saying we hate racists. Like racists are bad. The right side that they are responding to is saying like we don't like blacks. Like blacks are bad. I basically see two infants fighting with each other a little bit ideologically of how can you still be racist, and the other side is like, well, like why are you, and it's just kind of people babbling back and forth at each other, especially with a lot of these the identities that people assimilate into are this form of something that isn't abstracted from the bottom up. It somewhat is with these basic morals of don't be sexist, don't be racist, don't be homophobic. But these values are projected online and as a way to assimilate into a larger identity. And virtue signaling is talked a lot about, but I think there's also a deeper Freudian aspect of finding a sexual mate within these values and reflections and amplifying yourself like an antenna. And we are entering a new age of doxing. Let's say someone says the N-word on Twitter or TikTok. Everyone's seen it. Everyone's trying to put their identity out there and end their existence within our mercantile society by not making them viable to have a job anymore. This is almost this, as I talked about being post-Christian, there's almost this new ideology of if you promote these sexist, racist, homophobic views, you're canceled and you should inherently be socially outcast. Just as the harsh Christians did back in the day, where if you spoke out, you were prosecuted against, I think it forms its own slap in the face for having certain values like that. And you see critiques of the traditional family. Things are very progressive. The incel is looked down upon. And there's a difference between being an incel and a celibate. The incel is a problem created by pretty much the electronic bride of the internet and internet addiction, the whole neat philosophy. Sex now becoming more of a casual relationship thing, just kind of like the 60s. It's a very different view to the Protestant hush-hush, like, and you feel all good because you're doing something about it in a sense. You're making it publicly known, not just online, but in person to the people driving around, that, wow, these people really care and they want to make a change. They want justice for George Floyd, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin. All the race riots have always been a part of this system, and there needs to be a bigger form of change rather than just a classical reaction that people have. Another unseen side of the corporate elites and the people at the top of these corporations is I think they understand a lot more about the world and actually have positive goals. I think eventually this higher class, everyone talks about like Agenda 30, people are amassing wealth, blah, 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 and they want to make everything a one world government. I don't think the general population can, in a sense, fully apprehend what this higher level is trying to accomplish. If you guys made it this far, thank you for listening. Sorry about the babbling.